another Sunday. Here we are. Welcome, welcome. We're so glad you're here. Another Sunday here in the beautiful Pacific Northwest. And we have some lovely things planned today for you. Hope you're doing well and that wherever you are, there is an intention for spiritual practice because we're going to talk about it today. Right now, I want to hand it over to our wonderful music director, Amber Darlin, who's going to lead in with some beautiful music. Take it away, Amber.
Good morning, everybody. Hope you're all well. Will you sing yes with me? Take me to the water and I'll dive right in. I'm ready to let go of everything that's been. I said, take me to the mountain and I'll climb on up. The highest peak beauty's gonna fill my cup. I say yes, I say yes. I know all is well. All right, let's sing yes. I say yes, yes, I say yes. I say yes, yes, knowing all is well. I say yes, I say yes. I say yes, 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 knowing all is well. I say yes, I say yes. I know all is well. I said a full routine right out the door. When I'm scared, I know it leads me to something more. Widen my gaze and see all there is. Take a leap of faith, I'm gonna find that bliss. I say yes, I say yes. I know all is well. I say yes, yes, I say yes. I say yes, yes, knowing all is well. I say yes, I say yes. I say yes, 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 knowing all is well. I say yes, I say yes. I know all is well. Let's throw routine out again. I said throw the routine right out the door. When I'm scared, I know it leads me to something more. Widen my gaze and see all there is. Take a leap of faith, I'm gonna find that bliss. I say yes, I say yes. I know all is well. Sing with yes with me. I say yes, yes, I say yes. Yes, yes, knowing all is well. I say yes, I say yes. I say yes, 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 knowing all is well. I say yes, I say yes. I know all is well. I say yes. Come on, you all say yes. We know all is well. I say yes. And now we all say yes. We know all is well. Yes, thank you for being here this morning, everyone. If you're on Facebook Live and you can say hello to some of those other friends who are streaming in, part of the spiritual community, now is the time to say hello to everybody. Good morning. So glad you're here. And let's sing My Soul is Welcome Here. Thanks for singing along, everyone. We're going now to Heidi Ruth, our practitioner of the day.
Thank you, Amber. I'm Heidi, and I'm practitioner of the day, and I'm happy to be here. It's my honor to offer the opening prayer. This is a time to relax into knowing that all is well. Spirit's got us covered, no matter what the outer circumstances. That divine presence, that loving intelligence is in us, and we are in it. It is always available to us. Every moment, an opportunity to wake up to that beautiful divine essence. We are open. We allow Spirit to express itself through us, as us, and in us. And I'm aware of that Spirit all around me manifesting as beauty, as truth, as understanding, and as wisdom. It's a wonderful thing to feel this all in a new light, in a new world. Every moment an opportunity for transformation and an expansion into a greater love and understanding. I am so grateful for the way that it is. I am so grateful for this loving spiritual community that we have. And so it is.
Loving Spirit dwells in me. This is my divinity. As within, so without. All I need is here and now. Where there's error, let me love. May I have no fear. All the power, all the glory, I surrender, let it be. Loving Spirit dwells in me, now and evermore. Loving Spirit dwells in me. Loving Spirit dwells in me. This is my divinity. As within, so without. All I need is here and now. Where there's error, let me love. May I have no fear. All the power, all the glory, I surrender, let it be. Loving Spirit dwells in me, now and evermore. Now and evermore.
Hey there. Thank you, Amber. Thank you, Heidi. So wonderful that this technology has allowed us to bring it all together again. Not exactly like the center, but close enough for now. I wanted to read you the quote and tell you the theme for today. It's under the heading of Lean In, which is our May theme. And today's talk is on seeing the one in all things. And I chose for us a quote from Mary Oliver, one of my favorite poets. And toward the end of her life, Mary Oliver really became more and more willing to share about her spiritual path. For many years, she was partnered with a woman and not accepted in the spiritual path that she had walked all her life. And when her partner died, of course, that spirituality, as it so often does when we have a loss of that magnitude, was, it exploded. And she has a whole book of poems about that. This is a quote from Mary. You have to be in the world to understand what the spiritual is about. And you have to be spiritual in order to truly be able to accept what the world is about. And that last line, to truly be able to accept what the world is about, is part of what the spiritual path allows us to do. And so seeing the one in all things, I wanted to tell you a story that Hermine Reinhard told me. Hermine has been coming up and watering our plants once a week. And this last week she was up here, as always, to do that wonderful selfless service. And there's been a woman who is walking her dog on a regular basis on the center grounds, which is, we love that. We love making our grounds available to everybody. And so Hermine was out watering, and the woman came by with her dog, Lucky. It's a funny thing, I can remember the dog's name, but not the woman's name. And the woman, who's been walking her dog here for a couple of years, said to Hermine, "Are you guys okay? Because I've been really worried, with the pandemic and the shutdown and the lockdown. Are you guys okay financially?" And she proceeded to tell Hermine all about the payroll protection plan and how there's money available and how we would, if we applied for it, we would be okay. And she was very concerned, and she does not come to the center. She's not part of our congregation, but she made a point of making sure that we had all the information, which we had already applied for, but she didn't know that, so that we would be all right. And I was so touched by that story. And also, for me, it was an illustration of how I walk in the world. I don't know about you, but Mary's saying you have to be in the world to understand what the spiritual is about. And you have to be spiritual in order to truly be able to accept what the world is about. And what I know about that is because I've walked for so long a spiritual path, I am oriented to the world in a certain fashion. I see the world through a spiritual lens all the time. And I imagine that's true for many of you as well. And so that story that Hermine told me about the dog walker and are we okay was not a surprise for me. It was very heartwarming and touching, but I have experiences like that all the time where the people I see are caring, they're loving, they're compassionate most of the time. Now, it doesn't mean that I don't see the other stuff, I do, but it does mean that because of my spiritual lens, I'm able to see the world from the orientation that I walk in. And of course, that's true for everybody. Perception rules. What you dwell upon, you become. As you think about things, you bring them about. So I, of course, think about the world from a perspective of we're all in this together. We are all connected in one vast web of life. Every species, every expression is one. You and I are in a web of creation and experience. And, I subscribe to a couple of daily messages, and one of the messages that comes through is called Daily Dharma. And so a couple days ago, I didn't go back and look for it, but a couple of days ago, one of the Rinpoches from the Dalai Lama's tradition had this one quote that he was quoted as saying that it doesn't really matter whether you are deeply illumined or if you are deeply ignorant, that what matters is your one-pointed desire to see and understand the world. And I was surprised by that and also heartened by that because, of course, I don't know about you, but I don't feel like I'm deeply illumined at all. I just feel like I am walking the path. And it reminded me of a story that Mary Morrissey tells in her Prosperity Plus class. Mary Morrissey is good friends with Gary Zukav, who wrote Seed of the Soul. And Gary lives in Mount Shasta, where I used to be from. And so Mary went to visit Gary, and they decided that they wanted to hike up part of the way, Mount Shasta, the actual mountain. And so it's a big mountain. It's not as big as Rainier, but it's darn close. And so they're walking up the path along the mountain. And Gary is ahead of Mary because Mary doesn't know which way to go and where they're going. So he's ahead by probably 200 or 300 feet. And he gets up to a place, she can see him up there, and he goes, "Oh, wow." And where she is, there is no, "Oh, wow." There's a steep, breath enhancing walk that she's doing. And so she's like, "Oh, wow, what?" And he says, "Oh, come up here. You got to see this." So she gets all the way back up to where he is, and it's a vista that looks out over this incredible valley. And and she used that experience of hers to talk about what it's like for us as we are moving along the spiritual path and attaining our goals, whether they're material goals or spiritual goals, is that, where we are may not exactly be what we were hoping for. And it's a great reminder to realize that there's a place not too far ahead where the vista of our lives will appear and we'll be able to see a glorious experience. It's a good reminder for that, but for me, I was thinking about how it is that we can be in society with people who are looking at reality from clearly a very, very different perspective. And that's very hard for some of us on the spiritual path to witness people who are coming from a deeply different perspective, one that perhaps is soaked in fear or anger, soaked in entitlement perhaps, or soaked in privilege. And for those of us who have been working deeply on those things in ourselves, it can actually be a trigger for us to witness people who are acting out in society in fear, or acting out in anger, acting out with unrealized privilege or entitlement. And that trigger can send us right back into those emotions and those feelings and those experiences. And it's very, very deeply unpleasant when that happens, when you've been working on it for a very long time. So I wanted to talk about this because recently there's been a lot of that with the pandemic creating experiences for all of us. It kind of triggers for all of us. This is how one of my friends said it. She said, when trauma happens, when difficult things happen, we tend to go back to our base nature. And if you've been working on your base nature, then bully for you and yay, because where you go back to is a place of equanimity, compassion, expressing love even in the face of someone else's difficulty. But if you haven't been working on those, your base nature may be one of ignorance, may be one of fear, maybe one of anger, maybe one of greed or pride, And so since we're seeing a lot of that, I wanted to talk about that and remind us all, including myself, that when we are witness to this, that's the time when we practice. That's the time when, as Mary says, to be spiritual is to truly be able to accept what the world is. what the world is. And what the world is this incredible spectrum, continuum of people who are walking in very different perspectives. They're having very different realities, very different expressions and experiences. And so for me, I go back to a couple of the stories and the things that I've learned. One is from the Dalai Lama. And, you know, I got to see him years ago with a good friend of mine in San Francisco. And of course, one of the questions when he was doing public events that he is always asked is, how can he not hate the Chinese people? How can he not hate the Chinese for what they've done to his monastery, to his country? How does he do that? Because on the spiritual path, you know, we're wanting to learn from those who are much more illumined. Well, how do we hold things like that? This blatant genocide of the Tibetan people and this blatant takeover. How do we handle that? And this is often his response. He looked out at the audience that I was sitting in, and he did this. Oh, those poor Chinese. That's what he did. And then he elaborated on it. And it wasn't a pitying thing exactly, but it was a recognition that, first of all, the Chinese people don't even know what's happening. And second of all, even if they did know what was happening, they might not understand the consequences of that, not only for the Tibetan people, but for them. So, oh, these poor Chinese has stayed with me because often when I'm triggered by someone who is expressing anger or fear in a really strong, negative way, you know, my instinct is to pull back and to make them wrong, to make them other than. And yet the topic today is seeing the one in all things. And what I recognize is if I can pull up the Dalai Lama, oh, those poor Chinese, I can move with what I'm experiencing in a different way that is not only helpful to me, but also helpful to the entire situation, because I believe we are in a web and that everything that everyone experiences and feels and thinks and perceives is part of the creation of that web, moment by moment by moment. And so if enough of us are bringing our deepest compassionate self to those who are so frightened or so angry, it changes the field, the web that we're involved with in unimaginable ways. And so that reminds me of a story that you've probably heard me tell. It's from After the Ecstasy, the Laundry. And I want to read it to you, even though, you know, I won't be able to look up as much, because the way it's told in Jack's book is really a powerful way. So this is a story about seeing the one in all things in the most difficult of circumstances. One 14-year-old boy had shot and killed an innocent teenager to prove himself to his gang. At the trial, the victim's mother sat impassively silent until the very end, when the youth was convicted of the killing. After the verdict was announced, she stood up slowly and stared directly at him and stated, "I'm going to kill you." Then the youth was taken away to serve several years in the juvenile facility. After the first half year, the mother of the slain child went to visit his killer. He had been living on the streets before the killing, and she was the only visitor he'd had. For a time they talked, and when she left, she gave him some money for cigarettes. Then she started, step by step, to visit him more regularly, bringing food and small gifts. Near the end of his 3-year sentence, she asked him what he would be doing when he got out. He was confused and very uncertain, so she offered to help him to set him up with a job at a friend's company. Then she inquired about where he would live. And since he had no family to return to, she offered him temporary use of the spare room in her own home. For 8 months, he lived there, ate her food, and worked at the job. Then, one evening, she called him into the living room to talk. She sat down opposite him and waited. And then she started. Do you remember in the courtroom when I said I was going to kill you? I sure do, he replied. I'll never forget that moment. Well, I did, she went on. I did not want the boy who could kill my son for no reason to remain alive on this earth. I wanted him to die. And that's why I started to visit you and bring you things. That's why I got you the job and let you live here in my house. That's how I set about changing you. And that old boy, he's gone. So now I want to ask you, since my son is gone and that killer is gone, if you'll stay here. I've got room, and I'd like to adopt you if you'll let me. And she became the mother of her son's killer, the mother he never had. You know, that's an extreme example and a beautiful example of being able to see beyond the circumstances and to look deeply at the causes and conditions that might have created something for that human being, that sacred human, and then to actually work to change it. And in our own way, in all the ways that you and I can do, we can do the same thing in our own personal experience. It may not be something like that, of course not. But it may be that you see something that no one else has noticed in another person, in a plant or an animal, in a set of circumstances in society. And because you see it, it may be a call for you to look deeply at what you can offer. And it may be like that mother. It may not be all at once. It may be that you need 6 months, like she took, to really think deeply about what you can offer to the situation that would not only uplift or change the situation, but would be an offering of the heart from you that doesn't steal or take away from your peace, your love, your compassion, but rather enhances it, opens it, brings it to a new level. That's what the spiritual path is beckoning for us to do, is to be wide awake, to be very aware, like our neighbor with the dog, about the suffering of others, and to offer what we have to offer when we can. And then to continue to be mindful and alert and open to what the world is bringing to us as we look at it from a spiritual perspective, not in some sort of do-gooder kind of way, not like that, but just because we know that there are no accidents on the path for us, and that the situations, the circumstances, the incredible web that we're walking in has a message for us, and we have a message for it that's priceless and immediately needed. And that's the key here, is immediately needed. It's not something that we have to wait years. You know, I used to, in the early days of metaphysics, I had a friend, and one of the things he would say sometimes is, you know, I kept waiting for my ship to come in so that I would have the right job, or I'd have the right relationship, or I'd have enough money. And finally, one day, I decided that what I needed to do instead was swim out to it. In a way, paying attention to what the web is bringing to each of us is swimming out to it, is really being willing to see what's before us, to accept what the world is about for us, and then to do what we can. There's an expression that I wrote an article for the newspaper about when 9/11 happened. And the expression was from the ancient teachings of the Vedas and Buddhism. And it goes like this: hatred never ceases by hatred, but by love alone is healed. This is the ancient and immutable truth. So I'm inviting you and me and anyone listening, when we get triggered by difficult circumstances, difficult situations, difficult images on the television, difficult people, that we, instead of reacting, that we turn instead to the truth that we've been training ourselves to know, and to, with all of our spiritual practice, offer who we are in a different way so that we can change the world and lift it. Certainly in this time of pandemic, that's what's needed. So please join me in a prayer for that, and we'll have some announcements and then a wonderful closing piece by Amber. So join me here in this knowing. There is something within me and within you and within all things that is a loving intelligence. It contains within its nature all possible realities. It is the quantum field of the physicist. It is the one of the spiritualist. And it resides within us and around us and operates through us at all times. Every possible reality contained within it. And so for myself, I claim this truth, that I am choosing every moment of every day the highest and the truest experiences of love and compassion and caring and outreach and connection and support that I can imagine in my mind. I'm knowing this for myself, but I'm knowing this, that it is globally now unfolding. That there are many, many millions and millions of people who are now experiencing, in ways that they can't explain, a deep, compassionate love flowing to them, through them, and around them. That there is in every country, in every city, in every village, in every hamlet, in every place where any of us reside, a heartening of our intention to love and be a place of love in this world. Certainly that is my intention. And I am supported in this intention by the law of cause and effect that takes my deeply held intention and moves it into a reality that is mine. This reality, already existing in this incredible loving intelligence, is now unfolding me and unfolding before me in ways that are spectacular and marvelous and gorgeous and true. And I am so grateful that this is unfolding me and the world. And so it is. All right, well, as you might imagine, the announcements are rather short. We used to have a problem of having long announcements. We don't have that problem anymore, so I only have two real announcements for you. One is I brought the book. I'm teaching a class starting June 2nd at 5:30 in the evenings for 5 weeks. I don't know if you can see this. This is one of the books on the mental equivalent by Emmett Fox. And this 5-week class is a brand new class. I haven't taught it before. But Emmett Fox and the mental equivalent is responsible for many of our start on the spiritual path. And I did not know this about him. It made me love him even more. This is on the back cover. Emmett Fox was born in Ireland. How about that? And is a famous New Thought spiritual leader of the early 20th century. He had a large influence on founding Alcoholics Anonymous. I didn't know that either. And so this book is a pivotal, simple book. It's really easy. You can see it's pretty thin. And Amazon is now all out of them because I have 20 plus students that are joining me on Zoom for this class. So if you would like a book we have ordered some more, and we will have them here at the center for those of you in our area. And if you cannot find it, please let us know and we will mail it to you so that you have it. You need to email the center office at info@csl-bellingham.org and let us know that you want to register for this class, because we will be sending you student resources and materials at the beginning of the class. The class is $150, which of course helps the center in many ways. So we hope that you will think about joining us on Tuesday nights starting in June. The other announcement is that I've been doing 2 Coffee and Connection Zoom calls on Tuesday morning at 9 and Thursday morning at 9, and it's not too late to join. We have another 4 weeks left of conversation. I always bring kind of a topic, and then unfortunately we don't get to go back and forth with one another very much, but we do get to hear from each other and see each other. So if you would like to be on one of those Zoom calls, would you please email me at andreaasebedo@att.net, and I'll get you signed up for Tuesday or Thursday. Okay, so right now, thank you very much for your donations. They are helping us stay very current with all of our bills, and they're helping us in ways that you can't even imagine. So thank you very much for those. I wanted to just say one last thing before I turn it over to Amber. I'm very proud of our community, and those of you far-flung that have chosen to be part of our community. We have made such a stellar effort at reaching out and staying connected, and it just warms me to know that so many of you are reaching out to your fellow community members, that you're trying to stay in touch, that you're social distance walking with each other, that you're checking in on those who are particularly homebound. Keep it up, everybody. It's creating an energetic of love and support and connection like no other in this time. So thank you very much for doing that wherever you are. And now I'm going to turn it over to Amber and thank her ahead of time for sending us out on a upbeat note. Thanks, Amber.
Well, thanks, Dr. Andrea. Well, I chose while Andrea was talking, I decided to play a different song for y'all for this closer, because I feel like we all could be sending prayers for freedom out into the world, and this idea that we are all so interconnected in that web, as Dr. Andrea was talking about. This is Prayers for Freedom by Mamuse, and the chorus is, we're gonna sing our prayers for freedom. Yeah, we're gonna sing our prayers for freedom for the world, and I hope that you'll join me from wherever you are. Blessed river, polishing stones, she is polishing our hearts. We are claiming our thrones to sit side by side in our awakened homes. Love is always watching. Love is always watching. And we're gonna sing our prayers for freedom. Yeah, we're gonna sing our prayers for freedom. Yeah, we're gonna sing our prayers for freedom. Sing our prayers for freedom for the world. Medicine giver, gentle spirit of the land, she is polishing our hearts in ways we do not understand. We walk side by side and offer both our hands. Love is always watching. Love is always watching. Sing with me, and we're gonna sing our prayers for freedom. Yeah, we're gonna sing our prayers for freedom. Yeah, we're gonna sing our prayers for freedom. Sing our prayers for freedom for the world. Brothers, sisters, brave pilgrims of the night, we have followed our hearts, and to truth we have arrived, to sit side by side in divinity's light. Love is always watching. sing, sing, sing our prayers for freedom. And we're gonna sing, sing, sing our prayers for freedom. Sing our prayers for freedom for the world. Let's sing it out. And we're gonna sing, sing, sing our prayers for freedom. And we're gonna sing, sing, sing our prayers for freedom. And we're gonna sing, sing, sing our prayers for freedom. Sing our prayers for freedom for the world. Sing our prayers for freedom for the world. Sing our prayers for freedom for the world. You all have a wonderful week, and we'll see you again hopefully next Sunday. Take care, everybody.